Chapter 1333. Just like that, the Golden Sand tribe completely submitted to the Eternal tribe, and the Eternal tribe suddenly became a second-class tribe with 4,850 families. They only needed 150 families to officially become a third-class tribe. On this day, Yichen was practicing swordsmanship in the yard. He had been a supreme for some time, but the five-element sword technique had not reached the great success stage. This was also the reason why he could not improve further and become in existence on the same level as Supreme True Martial and Sky Demon Supremes. After all, these two, even if they did not have a divine weapon, were still high-level supreme. Yichen did not have a divine weapon, Sky Sword, so he was only a mid-level supreme. There was a difference of one level. Although the essence of the Three Realms Supreme's martial arts has benefited me a lot and my swordsmanship has improved by leaps and bounds, other people's skills are still other people's. I can use it as a reference, but I can't copy it. If I want to reach the great success stage of the five-element sword technique, I need something new to inspire me. Or, like Supreme True Martial and the others, I can use time to accumulate, but that is too slow. Yichen frowned slightly. At his level, it was way too hard to make any progress. Right now, the only thing he was confident in was his spirit body. But, if he could not find any precious treasures, then it would be pointless. Ta-da! There was a knock on the door outside the yard. "Come in," Yichen said casually. The person who came in was the chief of the Golden Sand tribe, Jin Ba. "Supremacy," Jin Ba said respectfully. The Eternal tribe could do without the old village chief or anyone else, but it could not do without the supremacy. The more he spent time with Yichen, the more he felt that Yichen was powerful. "What is it?" Yichen asked. Jin Ba smiled. "I want to offer a treasure to the supremacy." "Treasure?" Yichen looked at Jin Ba carefully. "What treasure?" Jin Ba was a bold and domineering person, and he valued power very much. Yichen guessed that Jin Ba wanted to build a good relationship with him, so that when the Eternal tribe developed into a powerful tribe, he could get a good position. "Supremacy, please take a look." Jin Ba did not keep Yichen in suspense, taking out a half-meter square stone from his storage ring. The stone was gray in color, and its edges were not even. It looked like a small fragment of a broken stone wall. Yichen did not pay much attention at first, but the next moment, his expression changed. There was nothing special about the stone. It was just a hard stone, but there was an extra word on it, tyrant. This word seemed to come alive, giving off a boundless domineering aura. One look was enough to shock Yichen's mind. The change in Yichen's expression naturally could not be hidden from Jin Ba. Holding the stone with both of his hands, Jin Ba said respectfully, "This item is for you, sir." "Where did you get this?" Yichen took the stone and asked. Taking back his hands, Jin Ba replied, "Thousands of years ago, in the middle of the endless mountains, someone found a stone wall with a calligraphy written on it. Because of this stone wall, dozens of powerful tribes started a war. In the end, the stone wall broke into thousands of pieces and flew away. I was lucky enough to get one of them. Looking at the word, tyrant, on it, my martial arts improved by leaps and bounds. Therefore, I believe that this calligraphy was not written by an ordinary person. Perhaps it was a legendary supreme. Not only a legendary supreme, but just by looking at the word, tyrant, Yichen knew that the owner of the calligraphy was not just a simple legendary supreme. It was very likely a demigod, because from this word, Yichen could see countless possibilities. Legendary supreme was the essence, while demigods were the experts. The so-called experts did not mean that they were experts in everything. "Alright, I'll accept it. If you need anything in the future, come find me," Yichen said. As long as the Venerable likes it, Jin Ba has no requirements. Jin Ba looked rough and domineering, but he was actually very meticulous. He only hoped that Yichen would have a good impression of him. This was more important than anything else. After Jin Ba left, Yichen carefully looked at the word, tyrant, on the stone. Unknowingly, Yichen's mind entered a strange space. In this space, a shadow was performing one set of sword techniques after another. These sword techniques were all different, but they had one thing in common, and that was domineering. After a long time, Yi Chen's mind exited the strange space. What a powerful word, tyrant. The simple word, tyrant, made Yi Chen understand what it meant to be domineering. In front of this word, Jin Ba's domineering aura was child's play. Yi Chen had never seen anyone with more domineering aura than the word, tyrant. Perhaps, by studying this word, I can create a supreme sword move that has reached the completion stage. There was a difference between a sword move and a sword art. A sword move was just one move, while a sword art was complete. Compared to the former, the latter was more profound. For example, as long as the 5 elements sword art reached the completion stage, all the sword moves that used the profound of the 5 elements as the foundation would reach the completion stage, greatly increasing their power. However, once a sword move reached the completion stage, there would be no way for the other sword moves to benefit. Even so, Yi Chen was still full of hope. A supreme sword move at the completion stage would greatly increase his combat power. As the days passed, Yi Chen's study of the word, tyrant, became more profound. Among all the sword moves, the 5 elements slash is the most suitable for this word. Creating a sword move for the word, tyrant, alone was too time-consuming. Integrating the essence of the word into the 5 elements slash would save a lot of time. What Yi Chen wanted to do was to combine the two into one. A month later, beside a lake near the Eternal Tribe, Yi Chen practiced his sword moves over and over again while the starry bear dog king, Sky Splitter, was capturing aquatic beasts. Open! The tyrannical sword momentum kept increasing. When it reached the limit, Yi Chen slashed at the lake. Boom! A sword mark that was dozens of miles long and 100 meters deep appeared in the lake. Water splashed everywhere as aquatic beasts were shaken out of the lake, turning into a bloody pulp on the spot. Sky Splitter jumped in fright and quickly retreated. The wilderness god continent was different from the outside world. Every blade of grass, every tree, every soil, and every rock was incomparably hard. Normally, it would be impressive if Yi Chen could leave a sword mark that was several miles long in the lake. The 5 elements slash combine the essence of the word, tyrant. Let's call it the tyrant sword form. The tyrant sword form wasn't just tyrannical. More importantly, it transformed the profound of the 5 elements into an invincible force. Although Yi Chen's 5-element sword art hadn't reached the completion stage, the tyrant sword form had reached the completion stage. It was like taking a shortcut. A single word, tyrant, allowed me to create the tyrant sword form. I wonder how many words there are in that calligraphy. If I can comprehend the entire calligraphy, how amazing would that be? The power of the tyrant sword form made Yi Chen realize how precious the calligraphy on the stone wall was. One had to know that a piece of calligraphy would have at least dozens of words, maybe even hundreds of words. If a single word was so powerful, how amazing would dozens or hundreds of words be? Yi Chen didn't even dare to think about it. One more reason to make the Eternal Tribe strong. Yi Chen wanted to obtain the complete stone wall. Even if he couldn't get it, it would be good if he could get one more word. In order to obtain these words, he naturally had to conquer the other tribes. Chapter 1334. Half a month later, the Eternal Tribe rose to the 3rd rank. A village called Bluestone Village came to join. This village originally had 2 Supremes, but one of them died while hunting in the mountains. The remaining Supremes felt that the village would be hard to maintain, so he led the villagers to join the Eternal Tribe. At least, they wouldn't have to worry about meat anymore. During this period of time, many scouts from other tribes discovered the Eternal Tribe. The Huangshan continent was vast and sparsely populated. Moreover, the Huangshan divine law covered the entire continent, limiting the range of soul power. If one wanted to draw a map, they would have to send people to scout everywhere. The Eternal Tribe had a team in charge of scouting and drawing maps, called the Scouting Team, led by 2 Supremes. There were 4 tribes on the Eternal Tribe's latest map. The Eternal Tribe was in the center, the Armored Tribe was in the north, the Flying Bird Tribe was in the south, and the Greenwood Tribe was in the northeast. Among them, the Armored Tribe was the closest to the Eternal Tribe, the Flying Bird Tribe was a bit further, and the Greenwood Tribe was the furthest. It was about twice the distance to the Armored Tribe, but the Greenwood Tribe and the Armored Tribe were close. Yichen wasn't in a hurry to attack. Taking down these tribes would be a piece of cake for him, so there was no need to rush. Recently, he had been comprehending the martial intent in the tyrant character. This was the martial intent of a demigod, which had reached the 9th step. His destruction sword intent and immortal sword intent were both at the peak of the 8th step, only a step away from the 9th step. Perhaps he would be able to find a path to the 9th step. In the sky, a nimble figure was hurrying at an unimaginable speed. Comprehending the line character actually increased my speed so much. I heard Dad say that the one who wrote this was a demigod. Seems like it's true. Passing by a mountain peak, the nimble figure landed. It was a beautiful woman in her 20s. Her eyes were big, and she seemed to be the unruly type. She didn't fear anything in the world, but judging from her aura, she was at the level of a super supremes. There was even a hint of nobility that seemed to look down on the world. This was the temperament of a person with a high position. After so many days, let's take a rest first. The woman took out an exquisite and beautiful courtyard from her storage ring. The courtyard landed with a faint radiance, and the woman entered. At night, a loud sound rang out, and the woman walked out of the house. She looked at the dizzy supreme-level vicious beasts outside and couldn't help but smile. My father personally laid out 18 layers of arrays in this courtyard. Each layer of array can defend against a legendary supreme level's attack for a very long time. To completely break through these 18 layers of arrays, an ordinary legendary supreme level expert would need at least 1 or 2 months of continuous attacks. If someone heard the woman's words, they would definitely be dumbfounded. 18 layers of array formations? Each layer could defend against a legendary supreme's attack for a long time? Could it be that the girl's father was a legendary supreme being, one that was proficient in array formations, or was he a mid-level or even high-level legendary supreme being? Forget it, I was woken up by the noise. Let me comprehend the word break first. Taking out a stone with the word break on it, the woman's mind entered the strange space. The next day, the courtyard and the courtyard. A 5th-rank tribe is too powerful. I'm definitely not a match for it. There are at least 600 to 700 supreme beings inside, and there are probably quite a number of super supreme beings. Rank 4 tribes have 200 to 300 supremes. My defense is not that high. It's too risky. Let's play it safe. I'll just take down a rank 3 tribe. Once I have my own force, I'll upgrade it to rank 4, or even rank 5. Every time she passed a tribe, the woman would murmur. By the time the tribe's experts caught up, she would be long gone. On this day, the woman arrived at the Iron Armor tribe. This is the tribe. She took out her crescent blade and yelled, "Who's the leader? Come out and surrender. This tribe is mine." As she spoke, she slashed at the Iron Armor tribe. The invincible saber chi broke through dozens of layers of formations like a hot knife through butter, almost destroying the Iron Armor tribe's formation completely. The leader and other supremes who were about to come out felt their scalps go numb. Where did this little fiend come from? She broke through so many layers of arrays with one blade strike. She's at least a high-level super supremes. Iron River, Iron Mountain, you two come with me. The leader of the Iron Armor tribe was a black-robed old man. Following him were 2 muscular men. All 3 of them had the aura of a super supremes. You're not going to surrender? That's fine. I've been bored to death. The woman was eager to try. The leader of the Iron Armor tribe, Tai Yu, took a deep breath and yelled, "I'm the leader of the Iron Armor tribe. If you know what's good for you, leave now. Otherwise, you'll have to bear the consequences." Although the other party was a high-level supremes, Tai Yu himself was a mid-level supremes. Together with the 2 low-level supremes, they still had a chance. So much nonsense. Watch my blade. The woman slashed at Tai Yu. The dark green blade light was fast and swift. So fast. Tai Yu hurriedly raised the shield in his hand. This shield was a supreme weapon that could be used for both defense and offense. With a clang, sparks flew in all directions. Tai Yu staggered back dozens of steps and almost fell. "Let's go together." Tai Yu roared. Rows of sawteeth appeared on the edge of the shield. Holding the shield, Taiyu charged at the woman. Facing the three's attacks, the woman moved her feet and disappeared without a trace. When she reappeared, she was behind Tai Shan. With a sweep of the back of her blade, Tai Shan was sent flying while vomiting blood. Tai He was also confused by the woman's elusive movements. In a moment of carelessness, his chin was hit by the hilt of the blade. What kind of movement speed is this? How could Taiyu not see that the woman's movement speed was extremely fast? When the opponent's speed reached a certain level, no matter how strong one was, it would be useless unless one's defense was very high. Still not surrendering? Do you really want me to fight seriously? The woman raised her crescent blade and shouted at Taiyu. Taiyu's expression changed several times. In the end, he had to face reality. It was obvious that the opponent was not serious. Once she did, the consequences would be unpredictable. Although the Iron Armor tribe had many supremes, most of them were ordinary supremes. If they fought to the death, the Iron Armor tribe might be able to repel the opponent, but the tribe's losses would not be small. In the future, it would be very difficult to contend against the other third-rank tribes. Rather than that, it was better to surrender. There was a big difference between surrendering to a person and surrendering to a tribe. Surrendering to the latter, one's status would be much lower. Seeing the others surrender, the woman nodded with a look of teaching, "Don't worry, I won't steal your position. As long as you give me the title of supremacy, I can help you raise the Iron Armor tribe to 4th or even 5th rank." Iron Armor tribe's main hall. Taiyu took out a map and said to the woman, "Supremacy, there are 3 tribes around the Iron Armor tribe: Greenwood tribe, Eternal tribe, and Blood-Drinking tribe. Among them, Greenwood tribe is the lowest, a 2nd-rank tribe. Eternal tribe is 3rd rank, and Blood-Drinking tribe is also 3rd rank. Then we'll start with Greenwood tribe, then conquer Eternal tribe and Blood-Drinking tribe." The woman glanced at the map and said, "Supremacy, the Iron Armor tribe's main force has set off for Greenwood tribe." A scout from the Eternal tribe reported. "So fast? Is he not afraid of us attacking him?" Yichin revealed a pensive expression. In fact, he alone could conquer a 3rd-rank tribe, and even a 4th-rank tribe might not be able to stop him. Let's first conquer the Flying Bird tribe. Facing such a situation, the Eternal tribe had to be prepared, just in case. Chapter 1335. Just like the Eternal tribe, the Flying Bird tribe only had 2 supremes, 1 mid-level and 1 low-level supremes. They were the chief and great elder of the Flying Bird tribe. Report, the Eternal tribe is attacking. A scout rushed into the main hall of the Flying Bird tribe. They're finally attacking. Everyone, get ready to defend against the Eternal tribe. Today, either we conquer the Eternal tribe, or the Eternal tribe conquers us. The chief of the Flying Bird tribe was a middle-aged woman with a charming appearance. Good timing. After conquering the Eternal tribe, our Flying Bird tribe will become a level 4 tribe. The great elder of the Flying Bird tribe laughed. Not far from the Flying Bird tribe, the Eternal tribe's combatants, led by Yi Qin and the village chief, flew toward the Flying Bird tribe. Soon, they stopped near the Flying Bird tribe. "Your Eternal tribe is really daring. You've just become a level 3 tribe, and you already dare to attack my Flying Bird tribe. You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth." The great elder of the Flying Bird tribe shouted. Jin Ba replied, "If it wasn't for the benevolence of our venerable, your Flying Bird tribe would have been long gone. Hurry up and surrender. Don't waste our venerable's time." "Arrogant. Get your venerable to come out. Takada will fight him." The great elder of the Flying Bird tribe was called Takada. "You think you're worthy? Jin Ba will fight you." Jin Ba's figure flashed and appeared in the open space in front of him. There were all kinds of battles between tribes. Some were invitations, some were group battles, and some were between chiefs. Different situations had different forms of battles. "You can't do it." Takada brought with him the power to destroy mountains and slash towards Jin Ba. Bang, 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 bang. Both of them were low-level supremes, and their strengths were about the same. After 500 rounds of fierce battle, Jin Ba eventually won, sending Takada flying with a punch. Of course, It was difficult to injure the other at the same level, let alone kill him. Takada wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, wanting to fight again. Takada, that's enough. Jinba, stand down. At this moment, the chief of the Flying Bird tribe and Yichen spoke at the same time. Takada reluctantly retreated. Jinba grinned and returned to the Eternal Tribe camp. I'm the venerable of the Eternal Tribe, Yichen. If you can block one of my punches, the Eternal Tribe will retreat immediately. Yichen slowly walked forward and said to the leader of the Flying Bird tribe. One punch? A trace of indignation flashed on the face of the Soaring Bird tribe's leader. She was a mid-level super sovereign, and even a high-level super sovereign wouldn't dare to say that they could defeat her in a single punch. She really didn't know if the other party was arrogant or ignorant. Chief of the Flying Bird tribe, Gao Yu. Please enlighten me. Gao Yu silently took a few steps forward. It was these few steps that caused Jinba's expression to change drastically. The village chief and the rest were puzzled. Gao Yu's few steps were as though hundreds or thousands of people were stacked on top of each other. Before the other party's feet touched the ground, it was impossible to predict how the other party would move or where they would eventually appear. In short, there were countless possibilities in these few steps. An ordinary mid-level super sovereign would probably lose to her in one move. Of course, it was only defeat and not death. It was impossible to kill someone at the same level. If one could kill someone at the same level, then they wouldn't be on the same level anymore. What a mysterious movement technique. Yichen narrowed his eyes and nodded slightly. Are you done? Asked Yichen with his hands behind his back. I've been done for a long time. Gao Yu was also sizing up Yichen. She could see that Yichen's aura was deep and unfathomable, but she was still very confident in blocking one punch. In that case, be careful. Yichen took out his right hand and clenched it into a fist. Take my punch. Without moving his body, Yichen's right fist swung out. In the next moment, layers of fist energy enveloped Gao Yu like a celestial maiden scattering flowers. The speed was fast and tricky. Gao Yu's eyes were solemn. Her body quickly shuttled back and forth. As she shuttled back and forth, countless of her appeared in the void. On each of her, there was a shadow of a bird. These bird shadows brought Gao Yu to dodge the fist energy at unimaginable angles. Seeing that all the fist energy was about to hit nothing, a smile appeared on the corner of Yichen's mouth. Suddenly, all the fist energy turned into one and landed on one of Gao Yu's body. Gao Yu spat out a mouthful of blood and flew out. This was her real body. How did you see through it? Gao Yu asked with a face full of disbelief. Your transformation is too simple for me. And my fist technique is the mortal world-killing fist of the three realms. Other than not having such dense killing intent and power, it is no different from the mortal world-killing fist. Yichen said the last sentence in his heart. I'm impressed. From today onwards, there will be no Flying Bird tribe, Gao Yu said bitterly. Leader. Gao Tian was anxious. Gao Yu waved her hand. The difference is obvious. Can't you see it? The conquest of the Flying Bird tribe went smoothly. After keeping the Flying Bird tribe's houses, everyone gathered together and returned to the Eternal Tribe. The Flying Bird tribe had a total of 6,500 households. Together with the Eternal Tribe's 5,000 households, there were a total of 11,500 households. The Eternal Tribe had officially become a fourth-rank tribe. Compared to the change in population, the increase in Supremes greatly increased the Eternal Tribe's strength. The Flying Bird tribe had 75 Supremes, while the Eternal Tribe had 70. Adding up to 145, there were 4 Super Supremes, 31 Powerful Supremes, and 110 Ordinary Supremes. With so many Supremes in the outside world, it would definitely be an unparalleled force. Unfortunately, the Wilderness God continent was enveloped by the Wilderness God's laws. The people of the Wilderness race would never be able to leave the Wilderness God continent. Even outsiders would find it extremely difficult to leave. Yichen guessed that the reason the Wilderness God continent could produce so many Supremes was probably related to the Wilderness God's laws. After all, it went against common sense. No one knew the meaning of the Wilderness God continent's existence. Perhaps only the gods and the wilderness god knew. The Eternal Tribe, which had more than doubled in size, looked like a small city. There were spacious roads, buildings of varying heights, and a plaza in the middle of the tribe. It had everything. The tribe had even opened simple shops. With more people, the social environment would become more complicated. This was a process of progress. Iron Armor Tribe. What? When we conquered the Greenwood Tribe, the Eternal Tribe conquered the Flying Bird Tribe. How could it be so fast? Upon hearing the scouts' report, the Iron Armor Tribe's leader, Taiyu, widened his eyes. The scout lowered his head and said, "It's absolutely true. I also saw the Flying Bird Tribe's leader, Gaoyu." Hehe, looks like the Eternal Tribe isn't simple. There might be an expert, an extremely powerful expert, holding down the fort. Otherwise, it would be impossible for an ordinary third-rank tribe to conquer another third-rank tribe in such a short period of time. The woman took a bite of fruit. "Then what do we do?" Taiyu asked the woman. "It's very simple. First, give up on the Eternal Tribe and devour the bloodthirsty tribe." The woman became interested in the Eternal Tribe. Interesting things were put at the end of her life motto. Chapter 1336. The blood-drinking tribe was very strong, much stronger than the armored tribe. The entire tribe had 8,000 families, 100 supremes, and 5 super supremes. If it wasn't for the fact that the blood-drinking tribe didn't have any high-level super supremes, the armored tribe would have already been devoured. For a tribe that wanted to level up, not only did they need many supremes, they also needed an expert that could intimidate the masses. Without such an expert, even if they had more supremes, it would be very difficult to defeat a tribe of the same level. The armored tribe and the blood-drinking tribe had fought many times, and the blood-drinking tribe always had the upper hand. Unfortunately, they couldn't completely suppress the armored tribe. The Greenwood tribe lived near the two great tribes and was lucky enough to survive. After all, the two great tribes didn't dare to act rashly. Otherwise, if their nest was destroyed, it would be a big problem. This balance was broken until the mysterious woman came. "Leader, the Iron Armor Tribe is attacking." The atmosphere in the blood-drinking tribe was heavy. They had found out that a powerful expert had come to the armored tribe. With just the strength of a single person, they were afraid that their blood-drinking tribe would also be conquered. "Let's go and meet her." The leader of the blood-drinking tribe was a bald man with a blood tattoo on his head. Leading a group of people, the bald man walked out of the blood-drinking tribe. "I am Shui Kuang, the leader of the blood-drinking tribe." Shui Kuang's eyes swept around, and soon, his attention fell on the mysterious woman. The woman smiled and said, "You should be unwilling to surrender directly. How about this? If you can take one blade from me, the armored tribe will immediately retreat." This woman's words coincided with Yi Chen's. Only the time and place were different. "Okay." Holding a spear, Shui Kuang arrived in front of the woman. "Make your move." The woman pulled out her crescent moon blade and pointed it at the ground. "Sorry for the offense." Shui Kuang let out a low roar and his entire body turned into a blood-colored tornado, sweeping towards the woman. Countless blood-colored spear shadows shot out from the tornado's mouth, which was extremely domineering. "Break!" The woman held the crescent moon blade with one hand and slashed down. A blade light flashed and the blood-colored tornado was split into two. In the next moment, Shui Kuang was sent flying, and there was a faint blade light behind him. But Shui Kuang coughed out large mouthfuls of blood. It was too terrifying. His opponent's blade chi had been released and then retracted, obviously holding back. However, that invincible blade chi had still pierced through his body, causing him quite a bit of damage. It was hard to imagine that if his opponent had used his full strength, he would have died. The blood-drinking tribe is willing to submit to the Iron Armor Tribe. As he vomited blood, Shui Kuang raised his hand in surrender. Even the blood-drinking tribe has been conquered. It seems like the Iron Armor Tribe is going to soar to the skies. Taiyu rejoiced in his heart. He was even glad that the woman had conquered the Iron Armor Tribe. Otherwise, the Iron Armor Tribe would not have such glory. In the future, when the Iron Armor Tribe became a 5th-ranked tribe, His authority as the leader would definitely increase greatly. After conquering the bloodthirsty tribe, the armored tribe only had one target left, the Eternal Tribe. Has the blood-drinking tribe been conquered? After receiving the scout's report, Yichen fell into deep thought. The old village chief was puzzled. How did the Iron Armor tribe's strength suddenly increase so much? I remember that the blood-drinking tribe was much stronger than the Iron Armor tribe before. Yichen speculated the Iron Armor tribe should have sent an expert. Expert? Could it be someone from the outside world? The supremes of the Eternal Tribe looked at Yichen. I don't know if it's someone from the outside world, but in addition to outsiders, the Wild's God continent definitely has its own powerful experts. There were too many supremes in the Wild's God continent, and the more there were, the more likely there were experts. From Yichen's point of view, the Wild's God continent was very likely to have legendary supremes, or even more than one. Gao Yu said, "Venerable is right. There are many tribes in the Wild's God continent. Generally, a 5th-ranked tribe has a high-level supremes, a 6th-ranked tribe has a peak supremes or quasi-legend supremes, a 7th-ranked tribe has a legendary supremes, and an 8th-ranked tribe is said to be the peak of the Wild's God continent. There are basically no 9th-ranked tribes. Once they appear, they will be defeated by the alliance of many 8th-ranked tribes." After all, Gao Yu was once the leader of a 3rd-ranked tribe, so she knew more than others. We'll deal with it when it comes. When the Iron Armor tribe attacks, we'll know what kind of expert it is. Yichen was also very curious about this mysterious expert. What would come would come. 3 days later, the Iron Armor tribe attacked. Yichen and the mysterious woman noticed each other at a glance. The two really stood out too much. "You're the expert of the Eternal Tribe? The expert of the Iron Armor tribe should be you." The two spoke one after the other. "Hee, it seems that you're a strong opponent. I wonder if you can block my saber technique?" The woman was very confident in her saber technique. "We'll know after we try." Yichen pulled out the heavenly sword. The heavenly sword was a sacred artifact. Even if its source was damaged, it was still not something a supreme's weapon could compare to. A sacred artifact. The woman determined the grade of the heavenly sword at a glance. On the Wild's God continent, sacred artifacts were usually in the hands of legendary supremes. Her father was the leader of the Unfalling Eagle tribe, and he had a sacred artifact, Sky Hammer. Every sacred artifact had a powerful characteristic. The Sky Hammer's characteristic was destruction. He didn't know what the sacred artifact in his opponent's hand had. Fortunately, my Blue Moon Saber is also a sacred artifact and has an armor-piercing characteristic. Destruction and armor-piercing couldn't be lumped together. Destruction was pure destruction, while armor-piercing was about gathering power to attack. Obviously, destruction was much stronger. The woman moved very fast, much faster than Yichen. If it wasn't for the Netherworld's sacred eye, Yichen wouldn't even be able to see the woman's trajectory. When she reappeared, the woman was behind Yichen and slashed at him. As if he had eyes on the back of his head, Yichen turned around and blocked the woman's slash with his sword. Rumble! A huge crater appeared on the ground, as if a meteorite had crashed into it. The shockwave radiated, and many people fell on their butts. What a powerful might! The two of them aren't high-level supreme beings, but peak supreme beings. Shui Kuang and Tai Yu could see it. On the Eternal Tribe's side, Gao Yu also saw it. The woman had conquered the Iron Armor tribe and the Blood-Drinking tribe before, but she hadn't used her true strength. For her, a little bit of power was enough to conquer them. Unlimited power condensation. Yichen's right hand was numb, and his eyes were solemn. The crescent moon saber in the woman's hand was clearly a sacred artifact. Different from the light power of the heavenly sword, the crescent moon saber carried the armor-piercing power. The light power was illusory, while the armor-piercing power was a real attack. Of course, it didn't mean that the light power was weaker than the armor-piercing power. The first move was just a test. The sword energy directly transmitted to my right arm. The woman didn't feel good either. The power contained in the opponent's sacred artifact was just and honorable, and it was difficult to completely exclude it. Chapter 1337. Revolving Blade Wheel. Seeing that her speed couldn't confuse Yi Chen, the woman leaped into the air and spun her body. A spiraling blue blade light swept towards Yi Chen. The blade light went from bottom to top, and its speed kept increasing. So did the power of the blade. In addition, it covered a huge area. It could be said to be a powerful killing move. Yi Chen took a few steps back and swung his heaven sword. Space-time sword art, death cleave. The interweaving sword net covered a wider area than the spiraling blade light. Under Yi Chen's intentional control, the sword net was shrinking as if he was fishing. Clang, 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 clang. The sky was filled with sparks as the sword net covered the spiraling blade light. The spiraling blade light rampaged, trying to tear the sword net apart. The blade and sword clashed millions of times. It seemed to be a long time, but it was just a moment. After a moment, the sword net was shattered and the spiraling blade light vanished. Sword burial art. A figure passed through the dissipating sword net and blade light and stabbed the woman. The woman retreated quickly. Her speed was even faster than Yi Chen's attack. But soon she found that her speed was getting slower. A condensed space-time power had enveloped her. Unlucky. Ever since she understood the secret of the word attainment, the woman had always been successful. But there were exceptions. For example, when she met an expert who was proficient in space-time, her speed was useless. Moment of youth. The woman didn't retreat anymore. She stabbed the blue moon blade into the ground. The next moment, the blade light burst out like flower petals, wrapping the woman up like a flower bud. Yi Chen's sword burial art stabbed on it, but it was like a clay ox entering the sea. Not good. His strong intuition told Yi Chen that the woman wasn't done with this move. As expected, when Yi Chen's strength was exhausted, the flower bud bloomed, and the blade light burst out. The woman stood in the middle of the blossoming flower and slashed at Yi Chen. Dang, 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 dang. At this critical moment, Yi Chen's heart force burst forth, and his sword speed burst forth. In an instant, his sword speed was raised to a level that surpassed the heavenly Tao, blocking wave after wave of saber lights. However, within the saber lights, there was also a blue saber light. The saber light seemed illusory, and real at the same time, as if it was condensed from mist. A smile appeared in the woman's eyes. She believed that Yi Chen would not be able to block this attack. 5 Elements Sword Art, Extreme Prosperity and Decline. Yi Chen's expression did not change. He waved the heavenly sword, and the 5-colored sword light filled the air. When the blue sword light came into contact with the 5-colored sword light, its power and speed immediately decreased as if it was stuck in a swamp. When the saber light was 3 inches away from Yi Chen, it suddenly dissipated. So strong. Up until now, the two of them were evenly matched. Yi Chen hadn't had so much fun in a long time. Although Celestial Demon Venerable and True Martial Venerable were stronger, they were a level higher than him. It was impossible for him to have so much fun, and he didn't have the chance to. I'm Lan Yu. What's your name? The woman asked. Yi Chen. Yi Chen looked at her doubtfully. Yi Chen, I can tell that you are young. Since you have given me so much fun, I can let you see my strongest saber move, Void Blade. Lan Yu said confidently. Void Blade? It seems very powerful, Yi Chen said. Of course it is. You will see it soon. Alright, bring it on. I also want to have a test subject for my Overlord Sword Style. Overlord Sword Style combine the essence of 5 elements / and the word Overlord. When the sword was used, it could destroy everything. It was extremely overbearing. It was Yi Chen's most overbearing sword move. Oh, I didn't expect you to have a trump card too. Lan Yu was a little surprised. She thought that Yi Chen had used up all his trump cards. Let's start. Lan Yu raised the blue moon saber with her right hand. The surging saber chi soared into the sky, giving people a feeling that it could cut and break everything. Yi Chen took a deep breath and closed his eyes. When he opened them again, Yi Chen's body erupted with an unprecedented dominance. The dominance and sword momentum combined to form an overbearing sword momentum. The heaven sword in Yi Chen's hand trembled, and the sound of the sword could be heard incessantly. Just like Lan Yu, Yi Chen also raised his heaven sword. The two didn't plan to dodge this attack. Who was stronger and who was weaker would be revealed with this attack. Void Blade. Overlord Sword Style. The two waved their sabers and swords at the same time. The blue saber chi crisscrossed, and the black sword chi violently swept. Before the two came into contact, the ground in the center had already cracked. Pieces of earth the size of a house flew up and shattered into nothingness. Rumble in the stagnant smoke and dust, the saber chi and the sword chi collided, and a blue-black mass of air suddenly formed. Then, the mass of air spread at an unimaginable speed, and in an instant, it covered a radius of dozens of miles. Except for the woman and Yi Chen, everyone else was floating in the air, and they couldn't control it at all. Boom! An earth-shattering sound broke out, and everyone was sent flying while vomiting blood. Their faces were aghast. How can it be so terrifying? Even a quasi-legendary sovereign is only SOS. Gao Yu had seen the battle of two quasi-legendary sovereigns. Although the momentum was greater than that of Yi Chen and Lan Yu, it was still limited. Gao Yu was right. The two who displayed the void-cleaving blade and the tyrant sword style had already entered the ranks of the quasi-legendary supremes. Just this move alone made the two fully deserving of the combat power of the quasi-legendary supremes. Of course, there were also strong and weak quasi-legendary supremes. Compared to the other quasi-legendary supremes, the two of them were still a bit weaker, unless most of their moves were comparable to the void-cleaving blade and the tyrant sword style. An arrow of blood spurted out from the corner of her mouth, and Lan Yu's face suddenly turned pale. I haven't completely comprehended the word break, or else I wouldn't have lost. The void blade contained the essence of the word break, but unfortunately, it wasn't completely comprehended. On the other hand, Yi Chen had completely comprehended the essence of the word overlord. I've lost. Lan Yu's complexion instantly recovered. She had lost this move, but it wasn't to the extent of causing her to be seriously injured. She had only consumed a bit of Yuan Qi and inextinguishable energy. It can be considered a draw. There was a saber scar on Yi Chen's cheek. Only now did the scar split open, and blood flowed out. Compared to Lan Yu, his situation was much better, but his immortal sword body was still broken. If he didn't have the immortal sword body, Yi Chen wouldn't dare to say that he would have won if the fight had continued. The main reason was that the opponent's crescent moon scimitar contained a powerful armor-piercing power that forcibly broke through his defense. Lan Yu laughed and heartlessly said, Tai Yu, since I've lost, the armored tribe will join the eternal tribe. Do you have any objections? I have no objections? Tai Yu didn't dare to say that he had any objections. That's good. Lan Yu looked at Yi Chen. The armored tribe can join the eternal tribe, but I also want to become the venerable of the eternal tribe. You won't refuse, right? The venerable is just an empty title. You're welcome. Yi Chen extended his hand to express his welcome. With the addition of the armored tribe, the eternal tribe's power swelled to a terrifying level, becoming a fifth-rank tribe with a population of 27,000 households. If each household had 3 people, then 27,000 households would have more than 80,000 people. In fact, the population had already surpassed 90,000, approaching 100,000. As for Yi Chen and Lan Yu, they were the left and right venerables of the eternal tribe. Chapter 1338. So you're an outsider? In the eternal tribe, after learning that Yi Chen was an outsider, Lan Yu was very curious. What is the outside world like? My dad heard from an outsider that the outside world is a vast universe. There are countless planets in the universe, and they are billions of times larger than the Wild's deity continent. The Wild's deity continent is just a part of the universe. Is that true? Lan Yu chattered. Yi Chen nodded. The outside world is so big. The experts there should be countless times more than our Wild's god continent, right? Lan Yu asked again. This time, Yi Chen shook his head. I don't know how many sovereigns there are in the outside world, but compared to the Wild's god continent, it's nothing. How is that possible? Our Wild's god continent is so small. Lan Yu's face was full of disbelief. Yi Chen smiled bitterly. It's true. There are many races in the outside world, and our human race is one of the most powerful races. However, our human race only has a few dozen sovereigns. Perhaps I'm counting a bit too many. I see. Our desolate race is naturally suited for cultivation. Lan Yu was somewhat proud. The people of the desolate race were born with at least astral-reaching realm cultivation. Lan Yu was even more powerful when she was born, being at the Sea of Souls realm. She had reached the life and death realm at the age of 10, which was much more powerful than the people from the outside world. She had heard from her father that the people from the outside world did not have any cultivation when they were born. Yichen didn't comment. In his opinion, the Wild's God continent was very special. What enveloped the entire continent was not the heavenly law, but the Wild's God's laws. If the Wild's God's laws set down a rule, it wouldn't be impossible for the desolate race's people to be born with astral reaching or Sea of Soul realm cultivation base. The methods of true gods were unfathomable, and not something ordinary people could figure out. Has anyone from your desolate race ever left the Wild's God continent? Yichen suddenly asked. Lan Yu froze for a moment before shaking her head. None. Since ancient times, not even one. The Wild's God's laws restrict us from leaving. If we want to leave the continent, there's only one way, and that's to enter the Wild's God Tower. Desolate God Tower? The Desolate God Tower is in the center of the Desolate God continent. Legend has it that it was built by the Desolate God. Whoever can pass through the Desolate God Tower will be able to leave the Desolate God continent and be summoned by the Desolate God. As for going to the outside world, that is impossible. Can the people outside leave? This was what Yichen wanted to know the most. He could not stay on the Wild's God continent forever. Lan Yu thought about it and said uncertainly, "My father said it's possible, but it's very difficult. Do you want to leave?" "I don't want to for now, but I'll have to leave eventually." One of them was a member of the desolate race, while the other was an outsider. They chatted about topics of interest. From Lan Yu, Yichen learned about the distribution of forces on the Wild's God continent. There were a total of 13 grade 8 tribes on the Wild's God continent, and all of them were located in the central region of the continent. Outside the central region were tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of villages. Among the 13 rank 8 tribes, 5 were the strongest. They were the Redbud Flower tribe, the Unfalling Eagle tribe, the Battle Tower tribe, the Star Ocean tribe, and the Cloud Central tribe. These 5 tribes occupied the best resources in the central region of the Wild's God continent, followed by the other 8 tribes. In addition to the rank 8 tribes, there were even more rank 7 tribes in the central region, a total of 81 rank 7 tribes. Although there were many more class 7 tribes than class 8 tribes, and their combined strength far surpassed that of class 8 tribes, there were very few class 7 tribes that could defeat class 8 tribes, even if they joined hands. Once, there were 10 class 7 tribes that joined hands to attack the Unfalling Eagle tribe, but the final result was that these 10 class 7 tribes were disbanded, and were divided between other class 7 tribes and a large number of class 6 tribes. Since then, they had disappeared. In the Wild's God continent, the 13 rank 8 tribes were the rulers of the entire Wild's God continent. They did not allow any rank 7 tribe to advance to rank 8 tribe. Once a rank 7 tribe advanced to rank 8 tribe, it would immediately be attacked by other rank 8 tribes until it was completely disbanded. It was for this reason that although rank 7 tribes often fought with each other, they restrained themselves from devouring each other, unless they were prepared to face rank 8 tribes. Of course, rank 8 tribes did not dare to advance to rank 9 tribes. Rank 9 tribes were taboo in the Wild's God continent. If they appeared, not only would they be attacked by rank 8 tribes, but even rank 7 tribes would also attack them. This strange rule kept the center of the Wild's God continent in a delicate balance. Let me tell you, the leaders of the 13 rank 8 tribes all have powerful sacred weapons. Among them, the leaders of the 5 rank 8 tribes have the most powerful sacred weapons. The leader of the Redbud Flower tribe has the Redbud Armor, the leader of the Unfalling Eagle tribe has the Exploding Hammer, the Battle Tower tribe has the Battle Axe, the Star Sea tribe has the Star Sea Spear, and the Cloud tribe has the Thunder Punishment Spear. How do you know so much? I am very knowledgeable. These tribal leaders only have one saint artifact. My blue moon saber is an earth saint artifact, and your sword should be an earth saint artifact as well. Getting an earth saint artifact is both difficult and easy. As long as you have a 3rd grade supreme artifact and a piece of divine stone, you might be able to make an earth saint artifact. As for sky saint artifacts, they are extremely rare. There are no more than 5 sky saint artifacts in the entire Wild's God continent, and they are all in the hands of the leaders of the 5 rank 8 tribes. Earth sacred weapon? Sky sacred weapon? This was the first time Yichen had heard of it. It seems that you still don't understand what an earth sacred weapon and sky sacred weapon are. To put it simply, a supreme weapon with 1 divine stone will become an earth sacred weapon. With 10, it will become a sky sacred weapon. Of course, with 9 divine stones, it will also become an earth sacred weapon, but it will be at the peak of the earth sacred weapon. Your blue moon saber has several divine stones. My blue moon saber has 4 divine stones, but your sacred weapon is not bad either. Can a rank 5 supreme weapon have 10 divine stones and not collapse? Not necessarily. I don't know the specific details. If I knew, I would be a legendary supreme. Why do you have so many questions? I thought you outsiders knew more than us. Hearing this, Yichen twitched his mouth. There were countless supremes on the Wild's God continent, and sacred weapons were definitely not rare. How could the outside world compare to them? Just thinking about it made him angry. If people like Sky Demon Sovereign and True Martial Sovereign came to the Wild's God continent, they would probably feel unhappy. Do you have any words left behind by a demigod? Lan Yu suddenly asked Yichen a question. She had 2 words of her own, one was attainment, and the other was destruction. Yichen's overlord sword style made her think that he might have some. The reason why she asked this question directly was that she was not afraid that Yichen would guess that she had some words and wanted to snatch them. Even if she could not defeat Yichen, she could still leave. Chapter 1339. Yes, you have it too? Yichen asked Lan Yu in reply. I have the word break. What word do you have? The word line was very important. After comprehending it, one's speed would increase by 10 or even 100 times. Lan Yu didn't plan to expose it. The word overlord. That's great. When I completely comprehend the word break, I'll exchange with you. How about that? Sure. Yichen didn't expect her to have the word break. It seemed like her identity wasn't that simple. How could an ordinary person know so much information? 1 month later, the 2 of them officially exchanged words. The word break, as the name suggested, contained the essence of breaking through everything. After comprehending it, Yichen's sword moves would be more threatening and destructive. This time, Yichen planned to merge the essence of the word break with the sword burial art. The sword burial art could bury the opponent's time. The space-time power would condense into a space-time sword force. Just this effect alone was no weaker than the 5-element sword art's sword moves. However, Yichen's profound meaning of time was only 70% complete. This caused the sword burial art's destructive power to be limited. It was much weaker than the 5-element sword art. For example, when he was fighting with Lan Yu, Yichen's sword burial art couldn't break through his opponent's defensive sword moves. In the courtyard, Yichen's mind entered a strange space. Inside, a figure started practicing sword skills. Every swing of the sword gave people a feeling that it could break through everything. After watching for a long time, Yichen felt his mind hurt. Compared to the word overlord, the word break seems to be better. Yichen immersed himself in his sword skills. He only left the strange space when his mind was in unbearable pain. The demigod realm is unpredictable. Just one word is so magical. I wonder what the other words are. Yichen was even more curious about the other words. Compared to Yichen, Lan Yu's comprehensive ability was obviously weaker. After spending 3 months, Yichen had successfully combined the essence of the word break and the burial sword spell together, while Lan Yu had not completely understood the essence of the word tyrant yet. Of course, be it the word tyrant or break, Yichen had not fully understood them either. What the demigod had left behind was a piece of calligraphy. Only when all the words were combined together would it be considered calligraphy. Comparing one word to another would be like comparing a firefly to the sun and moon. The sword burial technique, which contained the essence of the word break, was still far inferior to the hegemon sword style in terms of power, but it was more than 100 times stronger than the previous sword burial technique. In terms of facing an enemy, the sword burial technique was not much weaker than the hegemon sword style. The essence of the sword burial technique was to bury time, freezing the enemy's soul and body, and then kill them with a single strike. After recuperating for 2 months, Yi Chen and Lan Yu felt that the days were too peaceful. The two of them planned to conquer the other 5th-rank tribes and raise the Eternal Tribe to a 6th-rank tribe. Only by becoming a 6th-rank tribe would they be qualified to enter the central region of the Wilderness God Continent. There were the best resources there, as well as many dangerous places with a large number of treasures. The two of them first targeted the Iron River Tribe. The Iron River Tribe had 12 Supremes, and the strongest was only a high-level Supremes. They were no match for the Eternal Tribe. Yi Chen didn't even make a move. He watched as Lan Yu defeated the leader of the Iron River Tribe and conquered the Iron River Tribe. The Iron River Tribe had 25,000 families. With the addition of the Eternal Tribe's 27,000 families, the population of the Eternal Tribe finally exceeded 50,000 families and became a 6th-rank tribe. However, 52,000 families were still too few. The two of them planned to conquer 2 more 5th-rank tribes and make the Eternal Tribe a relatively powerful existence among the 6th-rank tribes. A month later, the High Mountain Tribe and the Black Mountain Tribe were conquered one after another. The population of the Eternal Tribe reached 95,000 families, close to 100,000. Once it reached 100,000 families, it would become a 7th-rank tribe. However, the two of them were not ready to become a 7th-rank tribe. Once they became a 7th-rank tribe, they would receive the attention of other 7th-rank tribes. If a 7th-rank tribe attacked the Eternal Tribe, Yi Chen and Lan Yu would definitely not be able to stop it. There were legendary Supremes in a 7th-rank tribe. One legendary Supremes was equivalent to dozens of Yi Chen and Lan Yu. Therefore, a 6th-rank tribe was the limit of the Eternal Tribe unless Yi Chen and Lan Yu could make another breakthrough and become legendary Supremes. After becoming a 6th-rank tribe, the Eternal Tribe began to migrate. The journey this time was extremely long. Even if they traveled day and night, it would still take them about half a year. Normally, it would take them about a year. However, everyone was very excited. They had long since heard that the central region of the Wild's God Continent was incomparably fertile. It was like a national capital, and although there would often be wars between tribes, they could still move about and communicate with each other. They could even do business with each other's tribes. Every tribe was like a city, and they weren't sealed off. In the pitch-black night, a tribe appeared in the barren mountains. There were countless bonfires in the tribe, and everyone was roasting meat and eating dinner. After eating some barbecued meat, Yi Chen returned to his courtyard. After conquering 3 5th-rank tribes, Yi Chen received an unexpected surprise. In the storage ring of the leader of the Black Mountain Tribe, there was a fantasy character. After discussing it with Lan Yu, she agreed to let Yi Chen keep it. However, if she wanted to see it, Yi Chen couldn't refuse. As his mind entered the strange space of the character, Yi Chen saw a figure practicing a dreamlike sword art. This sword art even made Yi Chen hallucinate. Yi Chen, who had almost lost himself in the sword art, turned pale with fright. His omniscient nature had enough changes, and this fantasy character sword art had even more changes. It was to the extent that one's mind couldn't deduce what was real. Mortal world killing fist turns complicated into simple, and the fantasy character sword art makes people hallucinate. It's just as frightening. As the days passed, Yi Chen gained some understanding of the character's essence and began to try merging it into omniscient nature. He believed that once he merged it, it would become one of the most frightening supreme sword arts. Even the tyrant sword style would be inferior to it. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed, and they were getting closer and closer to the center of the Wild God Continent. On this day, Yichen finally merged the character's essence into his omniscient nature. As soon as he threw out a sword attack, a dreamy sword light spread out like a bubble. As long as one entered the sword light bubble, they would be affected by the illusion. The most frightening thing was that it was not a soul illusion, but a deeper illusion. Therefore, no matter how powerful one's soul was, one would not be able to break through it. Only with a powerful heart power could one escape from the illusion. Let's call it the illusion sword style. Right now, there were already 2 completed sword movements in the 5-element sword arts, which were the Tyrant sword style and the illusion sword style. Among the space-time sword arts, the burial sword art was slightly weaker. However, it could be used to deal with warriors who were not familiar with the space-time profound. Sometimes, it might even be more useful than the Tyrant sword style and the illusion sword style. Chapter 1340. Soon, another half a year passed, and they finally arrived at the central border of the Wild's God continent. Lan Yu, why are you wearing a mask? Yichen saw that Lan Yu was wearing a black mask. This mask not only blocked Lan Yu's aura, but even Lan Yu's figure was slightly blurred by the mask. He could only vaguely guess that she was a woman. I have some enemies here. If they recognize me, the Eternal Tribe will be in big trouble. Lan Yu explained. Yichen smiled faintly. Why do I feel that you don't want everyone to see your appearance? It seems that you are quite famous here. Isn't it better to keep a secret? Lan Yu glared at Yichen. Then tell me what this place is. Yichen asked. Lan Yu looked around and said, this should be the Sheen Plain in the central part of the Wild's God continent. There is only one level 7 tribe in the Sheen Plain, and the rest are all level 6 tribes. As long as you are careful and don't be too arrogant here, you should not be targeted by a level 7 tribe. A level 7 tribe had a legendary supremacy. Whether it was a legendary supremacy relying on a divine artifact or a legendary supremacy themselves, it was equally terrifying. The former had powerful attacks, while the latter had no shortcomings. Of course, if the latter also had a divine artifact, it would be even more terrifying. In short, the Eternal Tribe could not afford to provoke a level 7 tribe. Since they had just arrived, the Eternal Tribe naturally had to keep a low profile. They chose the border of the Sheen Plain. I'm done. Your illusory sword style is too abnormal. Outside the Eternal Tribe, Yichen and Lan Yu had just finished exchanging pointers. Lan Yu looked very depressed. Since joining the Eternal Tribe, she would spar with Yichen every once in a while. At first, Yichen only had the Overlord sword style, so she could still put up a fight. Later, she completely comprehended the word break and was evenly matched with Yichen. But recently, Yichen created another illusory sword style, which immediately suppressed her. Your illusory moonblade is also not bad. Yichen smiled. He had created the illusory sword style, and the opponent had also created the illusory moonblade. However, the opponent's illusory moonblade had not reached grand completion, and there was a big gap between it and the illusory sword style. Far from it. The word illusory is more difficult to comprehend than the word break and overlord. It will take at least 2 or 3 years to reach grand completion. Before meeting Yichen, Lan Yu was very confident in her comprehensive ability. But now, she finally understood what it meant by there would always be someone better than her. The Divine Fire Tribe was the only level 7 tribe in the Sheen Plain. As a level 7 tribe, they naturally occupied the best resources in the Sheen Plain. To the east of the Divine Fire Tribe was a vast sea of stars. There were countless treasures in the Sea of Stars, which was controlled by the level 8 tribe, Xinghai Tribe. To the north of the Divine Fire Tribe was a primeval forest with countless fierce beasts. If you were lucky, you might be able to hunt some tame fierce beasts. To the south of the Divine Fire Tribe, which was the center of the Sheen Plain, there was a dangerous place called the Divine Fire Cave. The Divine Fire Cave was an underground world with many layers. Each layer contained a large number of fire attribute treasures, such as metals, elixirs, and even divine stones, and a large number of supreme weapons. The Divine Fire Cave was guarded by the experts of the Divine Fire Tribe. If you wanted to enter, you needed to pay a Divine Fire Supreme Order. The Divine Fire Supreme Order was a token refined by the Divine Fire Tribe. The only way to exchange for a token was with a supreme weapon. A level 1 supreme weapon could be exchanged for 2 Divine Fire Supreme Orders, a level 2 could be exchanged for 5, a level 3 could be exchanged for 10, a level 4 could be exchanged for 20, and a level 5 could be exchanged for 50. Many Supremes who entered the Divine Fire Cave made a fortune and obtained many treasures and supreme weapons. Of course, there were also many Supremes who never came out after entering. Their supreme weapons and wealth were naturally left in the Divine Fire Cave. In terms of danger index, the Divine Fire Cave belonged to 3 stars. 1 star corresponded to ordinary Supremes, 2 stars corresponded to powerful Supremes, and 3 stars corresponded to Super Supremes. This didn't mean that there was no danger for Super Supremes in the Divine Fire Cave, but it was relatively less dangerous and the chances of coming out alive were very high. If one was unlucky, not to mention elementary Supremes, even quasi-legendary Supremes would be in danger. The Divine Fire Tribe was huge, and it was like a city. The outer perimeter was protected by tall city walls, and one could only enter through the city gates unless one wanted to break through the Divine Fire Tribe's formation. In the Divine Fire Tribe's northern city, there was a tall pagoda. This pagoda was called the Divine Fire Supreme Pagoda, and it was the place to exchange for the Divine Fire Supreme Medallion. On this day, Yi Chen and Lan Yu came to the Divine Fire Tribe to exchange for some Divine Fire Supreme Medallions. This broadsword is a second-grade supreme weapon. It can be exchanged for 5 Divine Fire Supreme Medallions. The red-robed elder looked at the supreme broadsword that Yi Chen took out and said, "All right, let's exchange." Yi Chen nodded. This supreme broadsword was obtained by Yi Chen after he killed the Golden Sand Tribe's 3rd elder, Jin Ho. At the same time, he also obtained a supreme armor. However, the supreme armor was very useful, so he didn't plan to exchange for it. "This is your Divine Fire Supreme Medallion." The red-robed old man sheathed his great blade and handed over 5 fiery red tokens to Yi Chen. The workmanship of these tokens was exquisite, and they emitted a scorching aura. There was a fiery dragon pattern flowing on top of them. After leaving the Divine Fire Supreme Pagoda, Lan Yu said, "The Divine Fire Tribe has a Divine Fire restaurant. The meat and dishes there are very delicious. It's very famous in the central part of the continent. I'll treat you." "You should have to pay, right?" Yi Chen asked. Lan Yu said, "Of course. Starting from the 6th grade tribes start to coin their own currency. For example, the Divine Fire Tribe's currency is Divine Fire Coin, and below it is Fire Coin. This is used internally. If outsiders want to exchange for Divine Fire Coins, they can either use Yuan stones or treasures. Of course, they can also use supreme weapons. In the Divine Fire Tribe, 1 million Yuan stones can be exchanged for 1 Divine Fire Coin. Although the Divine Fire Continent's Yuan Qi was rich, it still required Yuan stones to cultivate. However, under Life and Death Realm, Yuan stones were not very useful. Absorbing the Yuan Qi of the world was enough for them to maintain the fastest cultivation speed. A single meal in the Divine Fire restaurant cost Lan Yu more than 300 Divine Fire coins, which was equivalent to more than 300 million Yuan stones. The two had a supreme banquet, and the meat was all supreme beast meat. Needless to say, the taste was extremely good. At least, Yi Chen had never eaten such delicious meat. Unfortunately, it was too expensive. A single meal cost more than 300 million Yuan stones, and the meat on the table was only about 1% of the supreme beast meat. Most of the customers in the restaurant were from other tribes, so the business was very good. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, the two left the Divine Fire Tribe and rushed toward the Divine Fire Cave. In the distance, the two saw a beam of fiery red light shooting into the horizon. It was the entrance to the Divine Fire Cave. 1 Divine Fire Supreme token per person. Whoever dares to barge in will be killed without mercy. The ones guarding the entrance of the Divine Fire Cave were the experts of the Divine Fire Tribe. The leader had sharp eyes and was clearly a quasi-legendary sovereign expert. Behind him, there were 2 peak super sovereigns and 6 high-level super sovereigns. With such a lineup, not to mention a lone sovereign, even if a level 6 tribe came to force their way in, they wouldn't have an easy time. Chapter 1341. That's the Divine Fire Tribe's Raging Blaze Hall's Hall Master, Howubian. The Divine Fire Tribe has a total of 3 halls, namely the Raging Blaze Hall, Sacred Fire Hall, and Warfire Hall. Each hall's Hall Master is a quasi-legendary sovereign. The 2 beside him are the Raging Blaze Hall's Vice Hall Masters, while the other 6 are Raging Blaze Hall Elders. The elites of the Raging Blaze Hall are all here. Lan Yu whispered to Yichen. Yichen nodded slightly. If the Raging Blaze Hall was so powerful, it wasn't hard to imagine how powerful the Divine Fire Tribe was. It was impossible for a 6th-ranked tribe to fight against a 7th-ranked tribe. After handing over 2 Divine Flame Supreme tokens, Yichen and Lan Yu entered the Divine Fire Cave. The first layer was a fiery red world of lava. The temperature was extremely high. Even 1,000 suns wouldn't be this high. There aren't any treasures on the first layer. Let's go straight to the 5th layer. Lan Yu seemed to be very familiar with the place as she led Yichen to the next floor. Soon, the 2 arrived at the 6th layer. The 6th layer was no longer fiery red, but light blue. It looked a bit cold, but the temperature here was 100 times higher than the first layer. So hot. Yichen felt his sword energy was slowly being consumed. One had to know that sword energy wouldn't be consumed in the first layer. It's fine here. Once we reach the 9th layer, we have to put up an energy barrier. Lan Yu said, "How many layers does the Divine Fire Cave have?" Yichen asked. Lan Yu said, "I know there are 11 layers, but I'm not too sure about the exact number. A long time ago, there was only 1 layer. Later on, someone discovered the 2nd layer, then the 3rd layer, the 4th layer. Maybe someone has already discovered the 12th and 13th layer. But as long as they aren't stupid, they wouldn't tell anyone. The newly discovered places have the most treasures." The 7th level of the Divine Fire Acupoint was blue in color. The 8th layer was dark blue, the 9th layer was dark blue, the 10th layer was light blue, and the 11th layer was azure. In the azure world, flames were like lightning, flashing. Wherever they flashed, there would be a loud bang. Without exaggeration, even a powerful sovereign would be turned into ashes by the azure flames. Yichen and Lan Yu put up an energy barrier. Otherwise, if they were hit by the azure flames, their energy would be consumed very quickly. Crackle! A green flame flashed towards Yichen. Yichen didn't even bother to look at it. The speed of the green flame was too fast. Even if he dodged it, he would still be in a sorry state. So, it was better to just ignore it. Ding! The powerful impact caused Yichen to stumble. What was going on? Yichen turned around just in time to see an axe bounce away. Supreme Axe! Who would have thought that there would be a Supreme Axe wrapped within the green flames? The axe's entire body was scarlet red, and it was obvious that it had been burnt red. "You're quite lucky," Lan Yu teased. "Let's hope we have more luck." With regards to supreme weapons, Yichen held the attitude that the more, the better. There were quite a few honorable ones on the 11th floor. In just a short while, the 2 of them had already encountered 5 honorable ones. However, it was clear that all of them were very cautious and avoided them from afar. The 11th level of the Divine Fire Cave was extremely vast. If it wasn't for the fact that this place had formed its own space, the entire Sheen Plain might not have been able to cover it. The 2 of them flew aimlessly. When they noticed something strange, they came down to take a look. Rumble! The 2 of them were just about to pass by a magma lake. All of a sudden, the magma lake below instantly evaporated, and the ground cracked. Immediately after, pieces of inky green crystals flew everywhere. Puchi! A small part of Yichen's protective sword energy was penetrated, and a small piece of inky green crystal was stuck on it. Yichen stretched out his hand to grab it. Puchi! The crystal was extremely hot, and inky green flames darted out, instantly enveloping Yichen in flames. Scatter! His sword energy erupted, and the inky green flames were extinguished. What crystal is this? Yichen was startled. He felt that this inky green crystal was not simple. The temperature of the flames was thousands of times higher than the green flames on the 11th floor. Divine Fire Stone! Lan Yu exclaimed. Hearing this, Yichen looked at Lan Yu. Lan Yu explained, Divine Fire Stone is a kind of fire-attributed energy crystal. Legend has it that it contains a trace of the desolate god's power, which is why its temperature is extremely high. Divine Fire Stone has many uses, and its biggest use is to forge supreme weapons. Some supreme materials are very hard to melt, but as long as they are burned by the flames of the Divine Fire Stone, they will melt in a short while. With enough Divine Fire Stone, forging supreme weapons will be many times easier. In addition, Divine Fire Stone has a great effect on refining the body. The flames of the Divine Fire Stone can burn away the impurities in the body, making the body stronger and purer. Can Divine Fire Stone upgrade a rank 8 spirit body to rank 9 spirit body? Yichen asked. Lan Yu glanced at Yichen. Of course it can. It's just that the process is more painful and dangerous. You need to use the power of the Divine Fire Stone bit by bit. You can't use it too fiercely all at once. It's fine if it can. Yichen sighed with emotion. It was really a case of wearing out iron shoes in fruitless searching, and finding it without any effort at all. Yichen and Lan Yu didn't care about those Divine Fire Stones that were flying around. Their eyes were fixed on the crack below, where traces of dark green light were shining. Finally, the ground stopped trembling, and a sharp point emerged from the crack. The sharp point was inlaid with dense dark green Divine Fire Stones. Collect the Divine Fire Stones. You can't use any energy, or the energy in the Divine Fire Stone will explode. Its temperature isn't very high. Lan Yu said and removed the energy barrier. She walked to the side of the sharp point and began to collect the Divine Fire Stones. Yichen also walked up to collect. As expected, after removing the protective sword energy, the temperature of the Divine Fire Stones wasn't high. Of course, this was only relative. 1 piece, 2 pieces, 3 pieces. Soon, Yichen had collected over 100 Divine Fire Stones. As the two collected the Divine Fire Stones on the sharp point, there weren't many left. Divine Fire Stones? Not far away, a beam of light flew over, and a brown-robed old man was wrapped in the light. Yichen and Lan Yu tilted their heads and looked over. Not only did the two not slow down, but they also sped up. Stop! My Divine Fire Stones? The brown-robed old man's heart was bleeding. The most precious treasure in the Divine Fire Cave was the Divine Fire Stones besides the Divine Stone. The Divine Stone depended on one's luck. Although the Divine Fire Stone wasn't as rare as the Divine Stone, it still required a lot of luck to obtain. Some people couldn't get a piece in their lifetime, while others might get one on their first visit. The brown-robed old man had bought 3 Divine Fire Stones from the Divine Fire Tribe last time, which cost him a lot. This time, he finally saw so many, but he wasn't the first to see them. Either leave the Divine Fire Stones, or leave your lives. The brown-robed old man was a quasi-legend supremacy. He stared at Yichen and Lan Yu fiercely. Yichen, be careful. This guy is an expert from another level 7 tribe, the Hidden Fog Tribe. He has the strength of a quasi-legend supremacy. Don't underestimate him. Lan Yu secretly reminded Yichen. Yichen replied, I haven't fought a quasi-legend supremacy yet. Let's join forces and fight him. Okay, beat him to a pulp. Lan Yu said heroically. Chapter 1342. It seems like you want to stay alive. The brown-robed elder's face sank as he secretly condensed desolate element. You can't make us stay alive. If she was alone, Lan Yu would naturally be afraid of her opponent. A true quasi-legendary supremacy was different from them. Their moves were all Great Success Supreme Martial Arts or attacks that could rival Great Success Supreme Martial Arts. She only had Void Break Blade and Tyrant Blade Slash, which were Great Success Supreme Martial Arts. She still had a long way to go before her illusionary Moon Blade reached great success. She might be able to fight for a short period of time, but in a prolonged battle, she would definitely lose. However, she wasn't alone. Beside her was Yichen. Yi Chen's illusory sword style was definitely one of the most powerful moves among the great success supreme martial arts. In that case, I'd like to see what moves you two have. The brown-robed elder roared as he rotated his palms. Layers of white waves rushed towards Yi Chen and Lan Yu. As the white waves appeared, white water vapor appeared in the surroundings. It turned out that the temperature of the 11th level of the Divine Fire acupoint was extremely high. The palm force of the brown-robed elder leaned towards water, which stimulated the high temperature and produced a large amount of steam. Instantly, the steam emitted a green light and drowned the surroundings. The three felt as though they were in a sea of fog. They could hear the rolling waves. It was the palm force of the brown-robed elder. Tyrant Blade Slash. Tyrant Blade Style. Lan Yu's Tyrant Blade Slash was extremely similar to Yi Chen's Tyrant Blade Style. However, one was a saber while the other was a sword. When the saber and sword slashed at the white waves, the domineering saber aura and sword aura combined temporarily. Rumble. The white waves rolled back and sent the brown-robed elder flying. Preposterous. The brown-robed elder was furious. He could tell that he wouldn't be able to win if they fought head-on. The two of them could fight against a quasi-legendary supremacy if they joined forces. Foggy soaring art. The figure of the brown-robed elder turned blurry and eventually turned into a dense fog. He shuttled through the sea of fog at an extremely fast speed. Disappeared? Lan Yu frowned. Yi Chen's eyes flashed as he suddenly waved his sword to the right. It was just one sword, but it seemed as though thousands of swords had gathered together. Space-time sword art, Death Cleave. That was close. At the critical moment, the brown-robed old man merged with the fog, and the sword chi directly passed through the fog, unable to hurt him at all. The terrifying thing about the fog soaring technique was that it could turn one's body into fog. Unless it was directly hit, it would be very difficult to break. Just now, Yi Chen's attack range was wide, but unfortunately, it was not high enough. Reverse Blade Wheel. Lan Yu's body spun, and circles of saber light spread out in a spiral shape. The returning saber wheel was known for its powerful aftereffects. Each point was the most lethal point. With Yi Chen by her side, Lan Yu could use the returning saber wheel without any restrictions, forcing the brown-robed old man out. 1 breath. 3 breaths. 5 breaths. It was unknown how many layers of the huge spiral blade light had circled in all directions. Not to mention the brown-robed old man, even Yi Chen was a little bit worried. He was sure that once he was hit by the spiral blade light, his body would definitely be cut into a skeleton, unless his defense could be enhanced to the point of resisting the attack of a quasi-legendary supreme master. Bush, bush, bush. The spiral blade light became more and more concentrated, and a strong blade wind erupted, blowing away a lot of the surrounding fog. In the thin fog, a human figure slowly appeared, and it was the brown-robed old man. Damn, what kind of blade art is this? The brown-robed old man didn't think much of the returning saber wheel at first, but later on he realized that the strength of the returning saber wheel was increasing very quickly, and it was no less than a great accomplishment supreme martial art. If it was one-on-one, he naturally wouldn't let Lan Yu continuously increase the power of the returning saber wheel. But now, he was fighting 1 against 2. Do you think I'm afraid of them? Whirlpool transforming Dragon Palm. A whirlpool gradually formed with the brown-robed old man as the center, and when the spiral blade light touched the whirlpool, it was immediately sucked in. Soon, the whirlpool became a huge monster, and it was enough to affect the use of the returning saber wheel. When Lan Yu stopped using the returning saber wheel, the brown-robed old man was completely wrapped by the black energy ball, and the black energy ball was expanding rapidly, and it had already expanded to a larger area than the attack of the returning saber wheel. A terrifying gravitational force acted on Lan Yu and Yi Chen, and it was trying to suck them into the black energy ball. Even if they used the back of their heads to think, they knew that once they were sucked in, it would really be disastrous. Let's work together. Lan Yu and Yi Chen once again used the Tyrant Blade Chop and the Tyrant Sword style, and the overbearing blade aura and sword aura suddenly combined and bombarded the black energy ball. Unfortunately, the black energy ball had already formed, and just like the previous returning saber wheel, Its power had accumulated to an extremely terrifying level, and even if it didn't reach the level of legendary Supreme Master, it was not far from it. Retreat. Since they couldn't break the black energy ball, the two could only retreat. They didn't believe that this black energy ball could expand without limit. However, the black energy ball's gravitational force was too strong, and the two's flying speed was very slow. Sometimes they would fly a bit, and then be pulled back a bit. It was extremely strenuous. Go to hell! Just as the two thought, the black energy ball indeed couldn't expand without limit. If it could, who could be its opponent? However, it was enough to deal with two experts who had just stepped into the quasi-legendary Supreme Master realm. Rumble, the surface of the black energy ball undulated, and soon, the entire black energy ball turned into a black dragon, pouncing towards Yi Chen and Lan Yu. The black dragon's body was incomparably heavy, but when it moved, its speed was astonishing. The 11th layer of the divine fire acupoint seemed to be unable to bear its might, and it slightly trembled. Lan Yu, come here. Yi Chen grabbed Lan Yu's hand, bringing her into his protective range. Next, Yi Chen's heart force, sword energy, and soul force all erupted as he displayed the 5 elements sword art, Extreme Prosperity Decline. Although Extreme Prosperity Decline hadn't reached major completion, it was still Yi Chen's strongest defensive sword art. At this moment, any offensive sword art was useless. Only a defensive sword art could protect him slightly. The black dragon crazily tore at the multicolored light ball. Inside the multicolored light ball, Yi Chen's hands could no longer be seen. The speed at which he swung the heavenly sword became faster and faster, surpassing one limit after another. Under the pressure of life and death, Yi Chen's heart force reached a higher level, and the defensive power of Extreme Prosperity Decline reached a new peak. Rumble. However, the black dragon's power was too great. The multicolored light ball was still shattered. The black dragon bit onto Yi Chen's body and swooped down together with Lan Yu. A deep mark was plowed on the ground. It was unknown how far away the black dragon's power was before it gradually dissipated. In a huge pit, Yi Chen and Lan Yu were hugging each other. Their clothes were torn, and they were half naked. On Yi Chen's chest there was a big hole. This was the injury caused by the black dragon. So powerful! Hugging Lan Yu, Yi Chen slowly stood up. The big hole in his chest was quickly healed under the nourishment of the inextinguishable power. He actually didn't die. The brown-robed elder was very surprised. His whirlpool dragon palm had accumulated a lot of power. It was enough to injure a quasi-legendary supremacy. A peak super supremacy would most likely die from it. Of course, if he encountered a quasi-legendary supremacy, the other party wouldn't let him accumulate power and would have already broken this move. This was the difference in strength. How could he know that Yi Chen's immortal sword body could resist a peak super supremacy's attack? Plus, he had used the 5 elements sword art to offset a part of the black dragon's power. The true destructive power of the black dragon didn't exceed his limit. Chapter 1343. Thank you. Lan Yu's face was a bit red. At this critical moment, she wanted to take out her courtyard with layers upon layers of arrays. With the courtyard's defensive power, not to mention the brown-robed old man who was only a quasi-legendary supreme expert, even a legendary supreme expert wouldn't be able to do anything to the two of them. However, who would have thought that Yi Chen would actually grab her hand and pull her into his protective range, causing her to be momentarily dazed? It was precisely this moment that she lost the opportunity to take out her courtyard. Fortunately, Yi Chen's defense was strong enough. I can't take such risks in the future, Lan Yu thought. Can you still fight? Yi Chen asked Lan Yu. Of course. Lan Yu's body flashed, and a set of clothes appeared. Let's take turns to attack. Don't give him the chance to use this move. Yi Chen was naturally afraid of this palm technique. This palm technique could absorb other people's energy and turn it into an attack. If he didn't absorb the power of returning blade wheel, tyrant blade chop, and tyrant sword style, the palm just now would have lost at least 70% of its power. Yes. Lan Yu nodded. She didn't expect the opponent to have such an abnormal palm technique. Go! The two of them attacked the brown-robed old man from the left and right. Good timing. The brown-robed old man could see that Yi Chen's defense was stronger, so he took the lead and attacked Lan Yu. His palm struck out, and the power was boundless. Splendor of youth. Lan Yu also had a defensive blade technique. In fact, with her speed she could completely avoid it, but she wanted to create an opportunity for Yi Chen. Rumble. Lan Yu, who was wrapped in petals, was like a reef, enduring the impact of the monstrous palm energy. Suddenly, the petals bloomed, and a peerless blade light slashed at the brown-robed old man. It was the void-breaking blade. The brown-robed old man frowned and smashed the blade energy with one palm. Illusion sword style. At this moment, Yi Chen used his strongest sword technique, illusion sword style. A bubble of sword light spread and enveloped the brown-robed old man. In an instant, the brown-robed old man felt that he was surrounded by sword light, as if he had come to a world of sword light. Layer after layer of sword light was slashed, and the brown-robed old man's arms went numb. There were too many sword light and they were endless. Not good, it's an illusion. By the time the brown-robed old man came to his senses, Yi Chen's sword had already pierced into the brown-robed old man's chest. Pucci, how could the brown-robed old man's supreme armor block the piercing of the heaven sword? It was directly pierced through. Scram! The brown-robed old man was horrified and sent Yi Chen flying with a palm strike. Who would have thought that just as Yi Chen was blown away, Lan Yu would rush over and use the incomplete Mirage Moon Blade. If it was before, the Mirage Moon Blade might not be effective. After all, the illusion of the Mirage Moon Blade was much weaker than the illusory sword style. However, at this time, the brown-robed old man was injured by the sky sword and his origin was damaged. Suddenly, another Mirage Moon Blade came, and he was heavily injured again. The blue blade chi cut off the brown-robed old man's left arm. I'm going to die from anger. The brown-robed elder went crazy. He, a dignified quasi-legendary supreme being, was actually injured by the hands of two juniors. What shocked him the most was that both of their weapons were sage artifacts. Sage artifacts contained special powers. It was fine if they didn't hit him, but once they did, it would be extremely difficult for him to recover. Don't give him a chance to breathe. Yi Chen rubbed his body and attacked again. This time, it was the sword burial art. Next, it was Lan Yu's tyrant blade chop. The two of them took turns to attack the brown-robed old man, not giving him a chance to recover. If you were beaten back, I would attack. If I was beaten back, you would attack. Although it was just a few moves, the two of them cooperated seamlessly. For a moment, the heavily injured brown-robed old man was completely suppressed. He didn't even have the slightest chance to turn the tables. If this continues, I will be beaten to death. Thinking of this, the brown-robed old man disregarded the fact that he was wide open and wanted to use the Vortex Dragon Palm. As long as he used the Vortex Dragon Palm, the two of them wouldn't be able to injure him. However, Yi Chen didn't give the brown-robed old man any chance and attacked with the sword burial art. Although the power of the sword burial art couldn't compare to the tyrant sword style and the illusion sword style, the power of space and time could slow down the brown-robed old man's speed and reaction. On the battlefield, there were countless changes. If one was slow, the others wouldn't be. Lan Yu's void-shattering blade hit the brown-robed old man and sent him flying. The supreme armor on his body was tattered and had almost no defensive effect. Aqua light armor. The brown-robed old man was a quasi-legendary supreme being after all. Although he was enraged by the repeated injuries, he didn't lose his mind. He immediately used a supreme defensive martial art, Aqua light armor. The defense of the Aqua light armor wasn't any weaker than the supreme armor. It was roughly equivalent to the defense of a rank 4 supreme armor. Of course, the supreme armor didn't need much power to maintain, but the Aqua light armor was equivalent to using a supreme martial art continuously. The consumption rate was thousands of times higher. Wait for me. With the protection of the Aqua light armor, the brown-robed old man's speed soared. Where do you think you're going? Lan Yu, who had comprehended the essence of the word line, chased after him. She slashed a few times on the brown-robed old man's body. However, she was quickly repelled by the brown-robed old man's palm. It wasn't that the brown-robed old man couldn't beat the two of them. It was just that his injuries were too severe. The more they fought, the weaker he became. Yi Chen's speed wasn't as fast as Lan Yu. Seeing that Lan Yu was repelled, he gave up the chase. He escaped. Lan Yu was a little discouraged. Yi Chen sighed. Even if a quasi-legendary supreme is injured, he isn't someone to be trifled with. It seems like we have to re-evaluate the strength of quasi-legendary supreme beings. And, if it wasn't for your illusion sword style injuring him, it would be very difficult for us to beat him. Lan Yu nodded. After repelling the brown-robed old man, the two continued to explore the 11th layer of the Divine Fire Cave. Flame Iron. 9 Turbid Gold. Turbid Sky Stone. Those who could come to the 11th layer of the Divine Fire Cave were all experts among experts, and experts were destined to be few in number. With fewer people coming, there would naturally be more treasures left behind. It all depended on one's luck. In just half a month, Yi Chen had obtained 3 kinds of supreme metals. Each of them was extremely precious and could be used to forge level 3 supreme weapons. Among them, the most precious was the 9 turbid gold. This kind of metal could be used to forge level 4 supreme weapons. Turbid sky stone was not inferior to the 9 turbid gold, but it was a pity that it was too little. It was only the size of a courtyard. Adding the azure star iron that he had obtained before entering the wilderness god continent, Yi Chen had a total of 4 kinds of supreme metals. Among them, the azure star iron was the largest. It was a metal planet with a diameter of several thousand miles. The flame iron was the second largest, which was only a dozen miles in size. The 9 turbid gold and the turbid sky stone added together were only half a mile in size. Yi Chen planned to learn the supreme swordsmithing technique when he had the time. Yi Chen, look, there seems to be a spatial fluctuation over there. On this day, Lan Yu and Yi Chen both discovered an obscure spatial fluctuation. Let's go and take a look, Yi Chen said. In a short while, the two arrived at the source of the spatial fluctuation. The source was in the magma lake. For some unknown reason, the magma lake was boiling violently. The spatial fluctuation was coming from the lake, and it was getting more and more obvious. Zichen, do you want to die? A cold voice came out. Chapter 1344. Hou-Jin, you're so despicable. We discovered the entrance to the 12th layer of the Divine Fire Cave together. Since you're so heartless, don't blame us for being unjust. As the voice resounded, the spatial fluctuations grew stronger and stronger. The two sides seemed to be fighting. Yi Chen and Lan Yu looked at each other. The 12th layer of the Divine Fire Cave? Lan Yu couldn't help but ask. You're right. There's a 12th layer. Yi Chen opened his netherworld sacred eye and looked down through the magma lake. Vaguely, Yi Chen saw 3 figures fighting. It seemed to be 2 against 1. They were standing on a teleportation platform. The shock waves of their battle shook the teleportation platform and transmitted spatial energy. This was also the reason why the magma lake was boiling. Fighting 1 against 2, the figure in the middle was naturally not their match. He was struck by the 2 and died. Let's go. Yi Chen saw the 2 figures flying up. They were probably trying to see if anyone was attracted by the spatial fluctuations. Rumble. Although Yi Chen was quick to react, the 11th layer of the Divine Fire Cave was a flat plain. Before he could fly far, the magma lake exploded and 2 figures broke through the magma. Looking around, the 2 quickly discovered Yi Chen and Lan Yu. Where do you think you're going? The sea of fire is boundless. One of the 2 was a sinister-looking middle-aged man in red robes. He shouted and clasped his hands together, pushing a palm in the direction where Yi Chen and Lan Yu were running. Boom! Like a landslide or a tsunami, the violent fire wave had yet to approach, but Yi Chen and Lan Yu already found it hard to breathe. This sinister-looking middle-aged man seemed to be stronger than the brown-robed old man. His palm energy was boundlessly tyrannical. Just as the fire wave was about to reach them, Yi Chen and Lan Yu turned around and slashed at the fire wave. Tyrant Blade Slash and Tyrant Sword Form were supreme martial arts at great completion. With the 2 combined, no matter how strong the fire wave was, it would still be split apart. Borrowing the rebounding force, Yi Chen and Lan Yu's speed continued to rise. Black Fiend, don't let them escape, the sinister-looking middle-aged man said to the black-robed man. The black-robed man nodded. No one has ever found the 12th layer. There must be divine stones inside. With them, our supreme weapons can be upgraded to saint weapons. The one called Zichen was the great elder of the rank 6 Purple Blood tribe. His strength was at the peak super sovereign level. The three of them discovered the entrance to the 12th floor at the Divine Fire Cave's 11th floor at the same time. Zichen thought that he was fast, so he wasn't afraid of the other two. Little did he know that the temperature of the 12th floor was more than 100 times higher than the 11th floor. Dark cyan flames flew everywhere, restricting Zichen's speed. Next, the sinister-looking middle-aged man and the black-robed middle-aged man took advantage of their quasi-legendary sovereigns to launch a sneak attack on Zichen. Zichen naturally wasn't willing to die just like that. He desperately returned to the teleportation platform. The four of them chased after her in a frenzy, one in front and one behind. Lan Yu had comprehended the essence of the word line, so her speed was the fastest among the four. Yichen was proficient in the space-time profound, so his speed was not much slower. On the other hand, the two middle-aged men were falling further and further behind. Huojin, forget it. These two are the same as Zichen, they are both faster than us. Black Fiend stopped chasing. Count them lucky. Huojin knew that he couldn't catch up to them. At their level, speed was very important. Unfortunately, it was too hard to increase one's speed. The best way was to grasp the space-time profound. The more profound the space-time profound, the faster one's speed would be. If one reached perfection in space-time profound, no one would be able to catch up unless the other party's space-time profound was also at perfection. Fortunately, we ran fast. One of them is the Hall Master of the Divine Fire tribe, Huojin, and the other is the third elder of the 7th rank tribe, the Earth Fiend tribe. Seeing that Huojin and Black Fiend didn't catch up, Lan Yu smiled and said to Yichen, "Although we found the entrance to the 12th layer, we can't enter it in a short time. Let's go back first." His immortal sword body could only defend against the attacks of peak super supremes. If he encountered a quasi-legendary supremes, it would be hard to defend against it, not to mention two quasi-legendary supremes at the same time. Alright, we'll come again in the future. I don't believe that they can get all the benefits in the 12th layer. They might be unlucky and get nothing. Lan Yu giggled. After leaving the Divine Fire Cave, the two returned to the Eternal Tribe. Inside a barren mountain near the Eternal Tribe, Yichen held a divine fire stone in his hand and tried to draw out the flame of the stone with his sword energy. Boom! For the first time, Yichen directly detonated the divine fire stone due to his inexperience. The dark green flame burned a big hole in the barren mountain. At the crucial moment, Yichen hurriedly used his sword energy to protect his body. Otherwise, even with the immortal sword body, he would be greatly injured and waste a lot of his sword energy and inextinguishable energy. Too violent. Yichen shook his head and continued to test. After the 10th time, Yichen finally found a balance point. From the 11th divine fire stone, he drew out a flame that was as thick as a pinky finger. The flame flickered as if it would explode at any time. Split. The finger-sized flame separated into two even thinner flames, which then turned into 2, 4, and then 8. When the flame was as thin as a string, Yichen opened his mouth and sucked in a bit of flame into his body. Pitter-patter. His body shook violently. Yichen felt as if there were countless bombs buried in his body. As soon as the flame entered his body, it immediately swept out, causing Yichen's entire body to burn. It really works. Yichen could feel that something in his body was being burned away. It should be some invisible impurities. Regardless of whether one was a super supreme, legendary supreme, or even a demigod, they would all have impurities within their bodies. Only by becoming a true god would one have no impurities, and their bodies would be pure and untainted. 1 wisp, 2 wisps, 3 wisps. Using the divine firestone's flame to refine the spirit body was a very boring thing. If the flame was too big, not only would it not refine the spirit body, but it would also burn the spirit body's yuan qi. If the flame was too small, it would be too slow and it was too difficult to control. As time passed and experience increased, Yichen found that the best method was to split a divine fire stone into 10,000 wisps of flame. Before he knew it, a month had passed. Boom! Powerful life fluctuations burst out, and Yi Chen's entire body floated in the air. He didn't rely on sword yuan or any other power, but his own body. One had to know that there were many restrictions on the Wild's God continent. It was impossible to float with just one's own life magnetic field. Yi Chen could float because his spirit body had broken through from the peak of the 8th rank to the 9th rank. The life magnetic field of a 9th rank spirit body was so strong that it could offset the gravity of the Wild's God continent. After his spirit body reached the 9th rank, Yi Chen felt that his immortal sword body was also improving. It was 10 times stronger, and the two formed a close connection. Finally, a 9th rank spirit body. Yi Chen let out a breath. Chapter 1345. Now, my immortal sword body should be able to resist the attack of a quasi-legend supreme. The upgrade of the immortal sword body to the 9th grade had increased the grade of the immortal sword body, approaching the 9th transformation golden body. At this stage, the defense was no longer just pure strength, but a more rational structure, which required a powerful life magnetic field to support. Apart from the immortal sword body, there was another great benefit. Yi Chen could feel his lifespan increasing, but by how much, Yi Chen didn't know. Such a surging immortal power. Closing his eyes, Yi Chen seemed to be able to see a black ocean inside his heart space. The ocean was surging violently, and before the first wave subsided, another wave would rise. The great increase in defense made Yi Chen want to go to the 12th layer of the divine fire cave. The damaged origin of the heaven sword was equivalent to an earth saint tool with 4 divine stones. If it recovered, it would probably be equivalent to an earth saint tool with 6 or 7 divine stones. Yi Chen didn't know if the divine stones could restore the origin of the heaven sword, but he had to give it a try. After all, in the Wildness God continent, his strength wasn't even first-rate, only second-rate. First-rate was legendary supreme. If he wanted to make a difference, he had to improve his strength in all aspects, including the divine tool. I'll go with you. Originally, Yi Chen didn't want to bring Lan Yu. Although her battle strength was similar to his, her defense was too weak. Unexpectedly, Lan Yu smiled mysteriously and said that he didn't need to worry about her. She had a way to save her life. Left with no choice, Yi Chen nodded and agreed. She could go by herself without him. There was no difference. Arriving at the Godfire Cave again, the two were about to hand in their Godfire Supreme tags when the leader of the Blaze Hall, Huo Wubian, seemed to have recognized them. He yelled, "You too, come with me to the Godfire tribe. If you dare to disobey, don't blame me for killing you." Yi Chen's face darkened as he gave Lan Yu a look. Bush. The two's speed increased as they flew toward the entrance of the Divine Fire Cave. Courting death. Huo Wubian was furious. These two people actually didn't care about the Divine Fire Tribe's orders. Huo Wubian was a quasi-legendary paragon. In terms of strength, he wasn't any weaker than Huo Wujin. His weapon was a heaven-piercing halberd that was wreathed in green flames. As the flames curled up, Huo Wubian's halberd swept towards Yi Chen and Lan Yu. Although this halberd strike seemed extremely domineering, Yi Chen and Lan Yu felt as though the world had been flattened by this halberd, and their path forward had been cut off. Break! At the critical moment, Yi Chen used the illusory sword style. Bubbles of sword light spread out, causing Huo Wubian to fall into a trance for a moment. Taking advantage of this moment, Yi Chen and Lan Yu entered the entrance of the Divine Fire Cave. Huo Wubian's face turned gloomy when he woke up. This was too embarrassing. He was a quasi-legendary paragon, yet he actually suffered a loss in the hands of Yi Chen. Although he was only confused for a moment, it could still be considered as being confused. If Yi Chen didn't choose to enter the Divine Fire Cave and attacked him instead, he would have suffered even more. This Huo Wujin, why didn't he tell us about his opponent's strength? Such a level of sword art can already threaten quasi-legendary paragons. Huo Wubian turned his head and glanced at his subordinates, feeling resentful. As a quasi-legendary paragon, he still wanted some face. Not being able to make Yi Chen and Lan Yu stay in front of his subordinates had caused his prestige to be damaged. "You guys guard here. I'll go in for a while," Huo Wubian ordered. "Yes." The two vice hall masters of the Fiery Blaze Hall hurriedly accepted the order. The hall master was more concerned about his face. As his subordinates, they absolutely couldn't reveal any abnormalities. Otherwise, they would have to bear the consequences. After entering the Divine Fire Cave, the two of them rushed to the second level. After the two of them left for a while, Huo Wubian appeared. Without any hesitation, he directly went to the second level. He was very clear that the other party was definitely aiming for the 12th level. Only a few people knew about the 12th level of the Divine Fire Cave, and outsiders were definitely not allowed to know about it. After half a day, Yi Chen and Lan Yu arrived at the entrance of the 12th level. There was a teleportation platform there. "Let's go up." The two of them arrived at the teleportation platform and activated its teleportation power. Buzz. With a flash of light, the two of them disappeared from the 11th level. When they reappeared, they were in a dark green world. The flames here were lumps of terrifying dark green flames that were flying everywhere without any pattern. The temperature was at least 100 times higher than the 11th level. So hot. Lan Yu had already activated her desolate origin barrier. Even so, the extremely high temperature still transmitted in and consumed her desolate origin barrier. But the temperature of the Divine Firestone's flames is slightly higher. Yi Chen nodded. Lan Yu said, "The flames of the Divine Firestone are dark blue flames, which are definitely hotter than the flames here. I wonder if there's a 13th level in the Divine Fire Cave. If there is, it might be dark blue flames that are comparable to the flames of the Divine Firestone." Every level of the Divine Fire Cave was an independent space that was extremely vast. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had stayed in the 12th level for 10 days. Although we didn't find any divine stones, this trip wasn't in vain with so many of them. Lan Yu smiled. In these 10 days, the two of them had obtained 200 pieces of divine fire stone each. One must know that after the spirit body reached the 9th rank, it could still continue to improve. Early stage, mid-stage, late stage, peak stage, and finally, the perfected spirit body. Therefore, with so many divine fire stones, Yi Chen could definitely improve his spirit body to the mid-stage of the 9th rank. As for late stage, he would need even more divine fire stones. What the two of them didn't know was that Huo Wubian had been searching for them in the 12th level for 10 days. Huo Wujin and Heisha haven't come out yet. They've only sent me a message through their voice transmission token. I'm also sending them a message now. After searching for 10 days without finding Yi Chen and Lan Yu, Huo Wubian could only take out his voice transmission token and send a message. A short moment later, another person's voice came from the token. "Huo Wubian, Heisha and I have already split up. I don't believe that we can't find them with just the three of us." All right. Huo Wubian kept the voice transmission token and continued his search. Very quickly, 20 days had passed. Yi Chen and Lan Yu had been in the 12th level for a month. What's that? On this day, Yi Chen and Lan Yu saw an intense radiance in front of them. The radiance flickered a few times before it immediately dimmed. Yi Chen and Lan Yu weren't the only ones who saw it. Huo Wubian, Huo Wujin, and Heisha had also seen it. It's a divine stone. This is the radiance of a divine stone. Heisha's eyes emitted a frightening light. At their level, it was too difficult to increase their strength. As long as they could obtain a divine stone, they could upgrade their supreme weapon to a saint artifact, greatly increasing their strength. It's the radiance of a divine stone. Huo Wubian's breathing was ragged. There was no one who didn't want a divine stone, and he was no exception. Both supreme weapons and supreme armors could be merged with divine stones to become saint artifacts. Chapter 1346. Yi Chen, that should be the radiance of the divine stone. While flying, Lan Yu said to Yi Chen, Yi Chen said, "It would be best if that's the case, but the radiance just now was too dazzling. If there are other people on the 12th level, they will definitely be able to see it. We have to be careful." Although his defense had increased greatly, Yi Chen still didn't dare to underestimate a legendary supremacy. The place where the divine stone radiance disappeared was very far away. Yi Chen and Lan Yu had flown for more than half a day, but they still hadn't reached their destination. At this moment, a black and white palm print approached from afar, slapping toward Yi Chen and Lan Yu at an astonishing speed. Facing this palm print, Yi Chen felt as if heaven and earth had become a huge millstone, and he was unable to move. The sword energy around his body showed faint signs of being squeezed out. What a powerful supreme martial art! Yi Chen was shocked. He unsheathed his heavenly sword and swung out a vigorous and domineering sword energy. Lan Yu was a step slower than Yi Chen, and her supreme saber technique, Tyrant Saber Slash, followed closely. Boom! The black and white palm print smashed the sword energy and saber energy one after another, but it was also worn down quite a bit. Its power was less than 10%, and it was easily shattered by Yi Chen and Lan Yu. The next moment, a black shadow appeared in front of the two of them. It was the third elder of the Earth Fiend tribe, Black Fiend. It's the third elder of the Earth Fiend tribe, Black Fiend. His supreme martial art is the Yin-Yang Millstone, and it's very powerful. Lan Yu sent a voice transmission to Yi Chen. Yi Chen replied, "I'll block him in a while. You attack with all your might from the side. Don't worry about hurting me." All right. Lan Yu had a slight understanding of Yi Chen's defense. Without any words, Black Fiend charged over and struck out with both palms. Streams of black and white palm prints spread out. Yi Chen took a deep breath and displayed his defensive sword technique. Suddenly, the five-colored sword light filled the air and quickly spread out, like a huge five-colored light ball. The black and white palm prints fell on the five-colored light ball like rain, making a loud noise. After only a moment, the five-colored light ball exploded, and the remaining palm prints fiercely hit Yi Chen's body. Dang 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 dang. The sound of iron being struck rang out. Although these palm prints were extremely powerful, Yi Chen's body was not weak at all. Not only did he not explode, but he even bounced off some of the palm prints. How is this possible? The Black Fiend was taken aback. His yin-yang grindstone could grind anything, and it was easy for it to break through defenses. Yet, the other party was able to block it with just his physical defense? 36 void-shattering blades. Lan Yu seized the opportunity and launched 36 void-shattering blades at the Black Fiend. Each blade was fatal, sealing off the Black Fiend's escape route. Of course, Yi Chen was inevitably included. Caught off guard, the Black Fiend only had time to wave his hand to set up a layer of black barrier. The black barrier collapsed under the dozens of void-shattering blades, and the remaining void-shattering blades surged forward, wrapping around the Black Fiend and twisting crazily. The Black Fiend was a quasi-legend supremacy, after all. His desolate essence was incomparably pure. When he erupted, he forced out the fierce blade force, and there were some bloodstains on his body. Illusory sword style. A dreamy sword light bubble spread out and instantly enveloped the Black Fiend. Not good. The Black Fiend was shocked. He knew that he was hallucinating. With a wave of the Heaven Sword, the Black Fiend's head fell to the ground. Yi Chen's figure suddenly appeared a few hundred meters behind the Black Fiend. Tyrant Blade Slash. Lan Yu leaped up and held the Blue Moon Saber with both hands. She slashed at the headless Black Fiend's body, and the dark blue saber gleam was cold and sharp. In the middle, the saber gleam paused for a moment, but the obstruction was quickly eliminated. The saber gleam slashed down from above, and the Black Fiend's body was naturally split into two. Death Cleave. Revolving Saber Wheel. Yi Chen and Lan Yu took the front and back, sandwiching the Black Fiend in the middle. Each of them released their most intensive attacks. At this moment, they couldn't give the other party a chance to take a breather. Otherwise, everything they had done before would be for naught. I, the Black Fiend, am a quasi-legend supremacy, and yet I am reduced to such a state. The Black Fiend was stunned and couldn't think straight. An angry roar sounded from the countless sword chi and saber gleams. A silvery figure soared into the sky, bouncing off all the sword chi and saber gleams. In the Wild's God continent, the majority of quasi-legend legends didn't have any saint artifacts. Therefore, their strength was at the level of a true quasi-legend legend. Correspondingly, their qualities were naturally very impressive in all aspects. For example, the Black Fiend's martial path Yuan spirit was close to the silver level, and he was only one step away from cultivating a silver martial path Yuan spirit. Once he had a silver martial path Yuan spirit, he would be a true legend supremacy, and his strength would skyrocket to an extremely high level. Seriously speaking, although Heavenly Lord Rot Devil was also a quasi-legend legend supremacy, he was far weaker than the Black Fiend in terms of strength. Heavenly Lord Rot Devil relied on supreme martial arts to have the strength of a quasi-legend legend supremacy. Of course, this was mainly because Heavenly Lord Rot Devil's strength had been greatly depleted. After all, when he was at his peak, he was a true legend supremacy. Quasi-silver martial path Yuan spirit. Yi Chen sighed. It seemed like he couldn't kill the other party. If the other party was the same as Heavenly Lord Rot Devil, he was confident that he could kill him. Heavenly Lord Rot Devil's martial arts were only slightly more powerful, but he had lost too much of his strength. When my sword intent reaches the 9th step, I'll be able to eliminate the hidden danger of my bronze martial path Yuan spirit. I should be able to step into the silver level. Let's go. With a thought, Yi Chen made a prompt decision. His figure shot out, and Lan Yu followed closely behind. Damn it. The Black Fiend's quasi-silver martial path Yuan spirit shone brightly, and the scattered flesh and blood were sucked back, forming an intact body. Of course, his aura was much weaker. Black Fiend, what's wrong? Huo Wujin rushed over from afar. The Black Fiend's face was ashen. Don't mention it. They're just ahead. Let's catch up. The Black Fiend didn't want Huo Wujin to know about his miserable state. At the same time, he was a little worried that Huo Wujin would kill him after dealing with Yi Chen and Lan Yu. This wasn't impossible. With Yi Chen and Lan Yu's speed, the Black Fiend and Huo Wujin wouldn't be able to catch up. 2 hours passed, and the dazzling divine stones lit up again. Over there. The two were overjoyed, and their speed increased again. Finally, the two saw the source of the light. In their line of sight, a tall platform stood on the dark green ground. On the platform, the radiance shone, condensing into a light barrier. Within the light barrier, 3 mystical stones floated. Each stone was like a primordial mountain. They were only the size of a palm, but the feeling they gave off was incomparably heavy. 3 divine stones. Lan Yu couldn't help but blurt out. Yi Chen slashed at the light barrier, but it was a pity that the light barrier was incomparably sturdy and the sword chi was bounced off. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.